back to other duties as assigned. Today I'm joined with my great friend Kylie Tutterow, the principal at Plainfield Community Middle School. This has been our 7th year at Plainfield Community Middle School. We started as teachers together at Plainfield High School, and we've kind of grown up together as administrators. And I asked her to join me today, and she said yes. And so we're here together. We're going to talk about teacher recruitment and hiring today. Well, thanks for joining me, Kylie.
I am happy to be here. I was thinking about how long we've worked together, and it's been, I think, 16 years.
Yeah, I think that's another podcast. We're talking about friendship next, but this one is about recruitment. But I think when you do things together with a friend and have somebody you kind of grow up together with, and you look out for each other, it's pretty special. Today, first though, we're going to talk about recruitment. As I think about the last 16, 17 years, education and the hiring process has changed. And just the pool of candidates has changed. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like what you've noticed kind of in your observations?
Absolutely. I would say, especially since the pandemic, the candidate pool, like you mentioned, there just aren't the candidates. There aren't students going to college to be a teacher anymore. So you have that, and I think just the demands of the job, I think, are different. And I think that I'm going to say kids or students who are going into education, some of their values I think are different. They want more of a work-life balance and things like that. Back in the day, we used to have 40-some applicants for a position, and over the past few years, you'd be lucky if you had 3 who were licensed to be able to do the job.
We walked uphill both ways in the snow to work back then too. But I agree 1,000%. But I think we're really lucky because we still are getting great candidates, and I think even though the pool is shallower, we're still getting great candidates. And I think that's really great. One of the things that you and I realized, and with our teams realized, was that we could no longer kind of wait and see who showed up. And so we took a very proactive approach. And I'm going to say it was 6 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago for sure. We started a recruitment event, and that kind of grew out of kind of being tired of only getting 2 or 3 applicants, right? And so you want to talk a little bit about what that event has looked like for us?
So I think our first one was actually in 2019.
Okay.
And just like you said, we were struggling to find candidates, and I think you and I both were like, we've got to be proactive. We've got to really think about recruiting, and we were not used to that. We have always had really just a large candidate pool. So we really thought about, how do we get candidates in early so that we can hire, talk to them about tell our story of our school. What we're proud of, what our mission statement is. And so through that night, we reached out to colleges and really promoted within our own staff of, hey, if you know somebody that is a teacher and would be interested in potentially looking at Plainfield, come along. And so it's looked a little bit different each year, but I would say it's been a very successful program in terms of recruiting.
We definitely invested our time and our energy into finding folks. We recruited within our school community, and with friends and family. We recruited within our town and tried to reach out in social media and those kind of things. We reached out to colleges and universities, and it's really paid dividends. I mean, the number of folks that we've hired through the years that were part of recruitment night, sometimes it wouldn't be that year. Sometimes we would have an opening pop up in language arts, and like, oh, we have that candidate, right? We had a database, we had a way of kind of tracking that, and the number of candidates that maybe we didn't hire right away, but we hired 6 months later or a year later, or we had a midterm, something happened, and it's been really nice to have that kind of a pool too, where you've already kind of had those initial conversations with folks.
Yeah, I think about how often we go back to that spreadsheet, and when we have an opening, let's talk to them again. So
some of the lessons we've learned in that is we're selling Plainfield. That's half the night for the candidates. Is we have outstanding teachers and members of our team sharing with them why come to Plainfield, what makes Plainfield special. And I think every school corporation could do that and promote what they do. That's great. I think the other part too is we've evolved. It's no longer just a secondary event. The elementary school teachers or elementary school administrators wanted to get involved. So last year we opened it up pre-K to 12. And that meant more people to interview, but it meant more people who could interview. And it really has just been a great event. We just wrapped ours up a couple of weeks ago. And I think we've hired, or in the process of hiring, 4 or 5 candidates that just came out of that one night. And we don't use that night as an interview, a formal interview. It's usually kind of the first step. It's kind of the litmus test of, is this person a Plainfield teacher? And for them to decide, do I want to be in Plainfield, right? And I think it's been a really good thing for us. As we think about that, we think about, okay, you get this pool of candidates. What are some things you've learned about the hiring process? So within your own building, what you do, and maybe kind of share with other administrators, what are some of the things maybe you've learned, good and bad?
Yeah, I think the main thing is never to settle for a teacher, especially in times where we have had, more of a challenge filling a position. You want, a consistent person in there, but some advice that I would just give, that if you know that person really isn't the person for the job, to hang tight and don't hire. That's probably the biggest lesson.
That one
you learn
is
that when things are not going well.
Well, you learn the hard way, right? Because if you settle for somebody who doesn't meet all your standards, if they don't pan out, it's a lot of work. You're dealing with more discipline, you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with just the extra supports that somebody who doesn't meet the standard.
Staff members who are frustrated by seeing, that things are not happening that need to happen.
You're exactly right. The weight, and when I've had several where we've gone without critical positions for months and just kept looking, and I can think of one right off the top of my head that it was a home run once we found the person.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought we would find him. It felt like it was going on forever. I agree with that. I've done interviews lots of different ways. I've broken them into parts where a teacher may sit with a group of teachers from that department and then talk to administrators. I've done it with teachers from that department. I think both are good methods. Do you have a strong feeling one way or the other?
I think that when you can invite teachers in a department to be a part of that decision making, I think that's really important. We've been doing some band interviews, and that's one of the things we started with the administrative team. Then have our finalists, and the finalists will come back and teach a small lesson in the classroom, and then meet with our music department, and then we'll all come back together and make a decision on who we will hire. So I like that portion of it.
I think one of the things I've learned is that idea of screening, of having some kind of initial conversations before you go to a committee or before you bring them in for formal interviews is really nice, because you can kind of get a feel for where they are. And I like sometimes walk people around the building, kind of have more casual, not sitting in 2 chairs at a table, but have a little more informal conversation. Again, selling them on why coming to Plainfield is a great idea, helping them get excited about that. I think you're going to get the best version of that person when you get to the interview. I think those are really good takeaways that we're talking about. Is there anything, a small thing that you would tell an administrator, hey, tomorrow if you're doing an interview, I would ask this question, or I would do this as part of your interview process that might be helpful? Or just one last takeaway before the episode ends?
Sure. I like to, my favorite question to ask is, share something that, what have we not asked you that you would like to tell us? And I think that just really gives you some insight into their personality, maybe something that, they're too humble to actually brag on, but you've given them the opportunity. And so I think about the really neat things that I've learned about teachers from asking that question. The other one that I really like is asking what they are looking for in a position and an administrative team. I think that's really important. So many times people are going into a position and the person interviewing knows what they want, but you want it to mutually, both people are really happy about it, because those are the teachers that when you do that, they're the ones that come in and are really making a huge difference in the lives of kids.
I think that's great, and I think that's really well thought of. And that was going to be the one of tell me something else. That was on my list too. I think the other one I would think about is sometimes when you ask them what questions do you have from us, very similarly, you get some insight into what's important to them. And I think that's really good. One of the things I'm always listening for is, have they researched us? What do they know about Plainfield? And I think that really tells you how vested they are in the process. Did they spend any time on our website? Did they watch? I mean, I had a candidate recently who watched all of our pre-enrollment videos and learned about like the classes we had to offer. He's like, he knew one of the voices of the people in the interview because their voice was on that. And I'm like, man, this guy's, yeah, he was dialed in. And I think that was very indicative of how invested he was in the process. And I think that's really good. Well, we could probably go on for hours, but I just want to thank you for joining me today and having a chance to talk about something we're both very passionate about, and someplace where an administrator can invest time and by doing that save them time in the long run for sure.
Thank you for asking me.
It was fun.
Fun.
Thanks.